Hi, my name is Francesco Rulli. I'm the CEO of Quello. I'm here today with Anahita Cameron. She's a CHRO with an excessive experience. Anahita, if you can share with us your perspective about the post-COVID and where your perspective is about how HR departments and executives are going to face this new normal or this new reality.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here with you today. When I think about what the industries and companies will look like post-COVID, I think about it in a couple different ways. I think certainly where we do our work will change, but also what work employees do and how they do that work can also change as we go forward. Because, if you look at just in terms of where we will do the work alone, the impact that has on a number of things. So if you think about bringing on new employees, for example, in terms of how you assimilate new employees to your company culture, that will be increasingly challenging if you have a dispersed workforce working from home. Oftentimes people get acclimated into a new culture based on observing others and the relationships, at the break room and things of that nature. So now all of those things, you have to figure out how to do that without that physical presence. Similarly, again, because of where people will be working, you need new KPIs to measure performance potentially, because it's not going to be as easy to manage performance as it would be, in the office and that type of thing. A lot of leaders, I think, are not necessarily equipped today, although they're getting good practice as we speak, in managing a remote workforce and a dispersed workforce. It's a lot easier to gather your team around in a huddle versus trying to do so remotely. So these are new challenges that will be faced in a post-COVID based on where we choose to work. There's a lot of companies that have furloughed a number of employees in recent months. And when you come back together post-COVID, you might have a divide between those that were furloughed and those that were able to remain in place. So how do you create one seamless team again and not allow that to impact your engagement and your culture? And then I would say in terms of the work and what work will be done, it's very possible that work will kind of start to be deconstructed, so to speak. So job descriptions as we know them today might start to be looked at in terms of different skills and different capabilities and different tasks, so that you can then compose cross-functional teams and bring teams together based on certain projects by picking and choosing different skills. So the work itself might look very different than it does today. But in terms of, the places I think that, if you look at the entire life cycle of a team member, from the hiring process to the onboarding to the development, all of those things will have a slightly different bend going forward.
Very interesting. Thank you. And from your perspective, what is the impact or what can be the utilization of artificial intelligence solutions specific in the HR space?
Yeah, I think, prior to all of this happening, a lot of organizations were thinking about AI and automation and technology. And some were just talking about it, but weren't necessarily taking any action. I think the current situation is going to expedite that, because people are recognizing that with automation and AI, they would have been in a much better place than they're finding themselves in today. And the likes of Amazon that have, invested greatly in, their HR technology and automation are reaping those rewards to some extent today. So for example, I recently heard that Amazon was able to onboard 2,000 employees in one day due to having automated a lot of those aspects. So I think it will absolutely begin to pick up. And as I said, again, there's a lot of ways in which we can use AI and automation in hiring. For the first time, there's actually going to be a surplus of candidates in the market. So whereas before, there was low unemployment and we were all competing for the same talent, now there's going to be so much talent that we have to sift through. So AI can really help organizations sift through the right talent. And, you know, there could be assessments that are done using AI, and those can continue to get smarter with the actual results and success factors that we put into those. Our onboarding, much of the onboarding process today can be automated and really take out and create a lot of efficiencies as we go forward. So I think there's just so much that can be done. Training, we could do multiple virtual trainings at once. So there's a lot of things we can do to make the entire employee life cycle a lot more efficient and error-free, and really continue to make it more sharper as we go forward and really get an ROI from a lot of these practices. But it will be challenging in that there's still differing viewpoints on how much you want to rely on AI and technology in some of these spaces. And I think the culture of the organization and the agility and the ability to change will have a great impact on how far an organization will go.
I completely agree with you. Based on my experience of talking to different companies, those few words that you mentioned now, the culture and the agility is definitely the key to success.
Absolutely.
I have seen the HR or the head of HR going from, let's say, a less heard voice within organizations to be now the main voice. And executives have definitely to step up to the plate, taking a little bit of chance to implementing new technologies that might give bad news. One of the things about machine learning is that it relieves people from a lot of repetitive tasks, the implementation of AI, but then also it shows where are the lack of information from the current HR best practice. And that's when the executives have to move fast to add the new policies, adjust the targets, and improve the performance. Yeah, it's very interesting. So I thank you very much for your time, and we'll stay in touch on this. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.